I hate waiting. I hate the particular kind of waiting that only an airport can deliver. It's a unique limbo, a space between where you were and where you want to be, and in winter, that limbo can feel endless. I hate the vague promise of a departure time that keeps slipping, a digital mirage that shifts every 30 minutes. I hate the way airports turn into frozen puzzles when the sky decides to dump snow, transforming a marvel of modern engineering into a chaotic mess of grounded planes and dashed plans. I've spent entire travel days watching clocks, talking to gate agents, and learning the precise language of delay. We're holding de-icing in progress, weather at origin, and it's taught me one thing. Some airports become battlefields in winter. I don't say this to be dramatic. I say it because I've lived it, and if you value your time and sanity, there are places you should avoid when winter hits. I want you to picture something. You're lugging a bag, juggling a coffee, and your phone buzzes. Your flight is delayed yet again. You look up and see crews shoveling frantically and a line of planes waiting for de-icing like cars in a grocery store checkout. That image? It's real. And it repeats at airports that are geographic or operational pressure points. These are the places where a single snowstorm can trigger a domino effect, canceling flights across the entire country. Today, I break down 7 airports that turn your travel plans into a waiting game, so you can make smarter choices and avoid getting stuck in the storm. Denver sits in a unique place, high-altitude wide-open plains and weather that swings fast. When winter moves in, the combination of snow and fierce winds creates whiteouts that make taxiing and takeoff a slow surgical process. Planes get held on the ground because visibility drops, and surfaces become unpredictable, and the whole schedule starts chewing itself. On top of that, de-icing becomes a logjam. Multiple wide bodies need attention, and there aren't always enough trucks and crews to service them quickly. I've stood under the fluorescent lights at Den watching gate agents juggle flights like a circus act trying to reorder priorities while the announcement board becomes an abstract painting of red. Ground delays become the norm, because even if the runway is open, the flow of planes in and out is throttled by safety checks. There's also the altitude factor. Engines and aircraft behave differently at higher elevations, which means sometimes pilots take extra precautions. Chicago O'Hare is a massive machine that moves millions of people. As one of the world's busiest airports, it's a finely tuned logistical masterpiece, but winter exposes its vulnerabilities like a stress test, pushing every component to its absolute limit. Lake effect snow, a notorious local phenomenon, can hit hard and fast. These squalls form with little warning, turning a clear day into a whiteout in minutes. As a result, runway conditions deteriorate quickly. ORD operates at such high traffic volumes that even a partial slowdown creates massive backups on the ground and in the airspace. Runway closures, reroutes, flights stuck on taxiways waiting for a slot. I've seen the schedule at ORD morph into a chaos map. Boker Dryen Bristein, OD. That should have been cleared hours ago are still occupied, creating a parking jam at the terminal. Baggage crews stretch thin. Passengers collapsed into plastic chairs while announcements repeat the same line. Because it's a hub, a delay at ORD cascades across the country, affecting flights that aren't even going to Chicago. Major carriers retime their flows. Small delays multiply into multi-hour disruptions. Fast fact: ORD consistently ranks among the highest for winter delay rates because of its heavy traffic and the sheer unpredictability of frequent lake-effect snow. That statistic isn't theoretical. It shows up on your phone as delayed or canceled, usually at the worst possible moment. And airline systems that try to reassign crews and planes often lag behind the reality on the ground, which compounds the problem. If you can, prefer direct flights that avoid ORD entirely during the winter months. If you must connect, fly midday. Avoid early morning or late night connections, as they have less flexibility for recovery. Midday provides a buffer, and whatever you do, avoid booking a tight 45-minute connection. It's a gamble you're likely to lose when the snow starts falling. MSP is built to handle cold. They have equipment, snowplows, and protocols, but extreme cold brings unique problems that aren't as visible. De-icing chemicals lose effectiveness at very low temps. Jetways can freeze up, making it hard to board or disembark safely. Equipment malfunctions become more common. Metal contracts and extreme cold batteries underperform in the cold. When a tug fails, it creates a gate bottleneck. When a belt loader fails, it creates a gate bottleneck. I remember a flight where the jetway wouldn't retract. We sat, watching mechanics try to coax it back to life. Heaters ran while they worked and the gate filled with passengers watching. Passengers get restless. Phones die faster in the cold gate areas. Fill-up ground crews work heroically. But the volume of flights plus machinery limits means delays remain frequent. Snow removal is extensive, but it's not a cure-all. Chapter 4. Detroit Metropolitan, or DTW, is a major hub in the Great Lakes region, a critical intersection for travelers crisscrossing the country. But during winter, especially the holidays, it becomes a pressure cooker. You've got unpredictable lake effect systems that can materialize with little warning, heavy holiday passenger volumes, all trying to get home, and tight connection windows that make every single delay dangerous. Staffing becomes stretched thin as crews work long, grueling hours, and de-icing demand spikes when everyone tries to move at once. On a bad weather day, the system simply runs out of slack. I've been there during holiday travel when the gate podium becomes a counseling center for tired, frustrated passengers. Agents switch from logistics to human triage, finding hotels for the stranded, and rerouting families desperate to make it to their destination. It's chaotic and deeply emotional. The real issue is cascading delays. One flight late into DTW can throw off dozens of departures as aircraft and crews get out of position across the entire network. That's when the word cascading stops being an abstract industry term and becomes painfully personal. Fast fact: DTW is notorious for cascading delays on bad weather days because its role as a connector magnifies each disruption. When this hub chokes, it drags schedules nationwide into disarray. My tip is to book flexible tickets if you can, or choose earlier flights to reduce the chance of being caught in the afternoon and evening ripple effects. Chapter 5. Newark sits at a crossroads of coastal weather and dense northeast traffic, and winter amplifies both. Coastal storms bring wind, coastal storms bring icing, and being a busy hub means slot congestion becomes an enormous problem quickly. When runways ice or visibility drops, Newark's tight operational windows squeeze like a vice, and flights pile up waiting for clearance. That's amplified when nearby airports are affected too, leaving the whole region juggling diversions. Arrival board full of delays. I've had flights rerouted into Newark that then sat for hours because the system had no room to move planes or crews. The airport's proximity to the city and the volume of connecting traffic means limited flexibility to reassign gates or swap aircraft. Fast fact: EWR is a major connector for northeast storms, and its slot congestion turns small weather issues into major travel messes. My tip: avoid tight connections through Newark in winter and always check alternate airports like JFK. Also check PHL. Chapter 6. Boston Logan lives and breathes the nor'easter season. Bomb cyclones dump snow in huge piles, driving winds whip the runways. When a nor'easter hits, runway closures, low visibility, hazardous surface conditions force cancellations and long tarmac holds. The airport has robust snow-clearing crews. Storms are big and relentless, often lasting longer than your operational window. Entire banks of flights evaporate from the departure board, gate agents rebooking hundreds of people. It becomes a logistics puzzle. And where do you send planes? How do you staff replacement flights? How do you keep people moving when roads are treacherous? Fast fact: BOS has a high rate of weather-related cancellations from nor'easters and heavy snow. Painful for last-minute travelers and same-day events. New England weather is unpredictable. Even well-planned itineraries can unravel. Tip: monitor forecasts, religiously consider traveling in longer windows or later in the day. Chapter 7. Toronto Pearson. It's a major international gateway. Winter there brings freezing rain, heavy snow, and the unique problem of cross-border complications. Freezing rain creates glazed surfaces that are treacherous for de-icing and ground handling. The airport's international role means delays don't just affect domestic schedules. They amplify through customs and connecting flights worldwide. When YYZ struggles, passengers can face long waits in security, customs backlogs, and a bottlenecked rebooking process. I've had flights into Pearson sit for hours while de-icing crews worked. Meanwhile, customs lines lengthened. Every minute of delay compounded once we reached immigration. International flights rely on tight coordination, and when one segment slips, the rest often follows. The customs and immigration step is a slow, rigid gait, not something an agent can speed up with a clipboard and a smile. Fast fact: YYZ's international status means winter disruptions are magnified. Frozen runways. De-icing delays often cause major international ripple effects. Add in the difficulty of rebooking across different countries' carriers, and you have a recipe for prolonged disruption. Winter travel isn't about luck, it's about planning. These 7 airports have proven time and again that geography and volume can turn Mother Nature into a travel adversary. I've laid out the stats, the problems, and the real-world tips because acting ahead of a storm is the difference between arriving and getting stuck. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this: build margin into your plans. Flight flexibility, morning departures, longer layovers, alternate airports, pack a battery, download entertainment, and keep essentials in your carry-on. Buy flex tickets or insurance if the trip is important. Missed meetings, lost vacations, flustered families in terminals, and travel in a way that minimizes that cost. I travel a lot, and I prefer to be smart rather than sorry. Pick your airports like you pick your fights. Choose the ones you can win.